Conscious Collaboration brings together entrepreneurs, change makers, and thought leaders. We aim to highlight the people that embody the idea of aligned mind, body, and business. Each week, we share, discuss, and learn from the various experiences and ideas of our guest experts. Through our discovery, we find a path to an aligned mind, body, and business.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily.
And I'm Michelle. And we are the Conscious Collaboration. How's everybody doing today?
I'm good. I feel pretty good now that I've had lunch and I'm not like fuzzy brained.
Yes. What's the
I can't be held responsible for things that I did when I was
happy, moisturized, and living my best life.
Yes. You do look moisturized. Where's your red light?
It's a meme.
Oh,
I didn't turn it on. Good call.
I'm gonna turn on that Atapa.
Get my mitochondria kicking.
The powerhouse. Well, today we're going to be talking about coming back from derailment or setbacks, and how it's been brought up a few times in our Facebook group, and among other conversations, and how we deal with it personally and, just in general. So we're going to kick it off with Lisa.
And so, guys, this could be like, just so people know what we're getting at here, this could be like derailment in relation to business, or like a personal life sort of derailment or big major event that, it's being that we're mind, body, business. It's hard to separate that personal life from business. It would definitely affect how you show up in business.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Any life event is going to carry over into anything that we're doing. I mean, it even shows up in my workouts. So any little bit of derailment affects us on so many levels, which is what I love. I'm seeing in our Facebook group. I'm hearing there's a lot that's being affected in terms of mindset. How is everyone perceiving of themselves? And that leaks into their personal relationships, their businesses. And it seems like, there's no one cure out there. And it's been something that's been talked about even in ancient times, because I'm going to talk about the Yi Jing. But I do think that if you can, just from what I'm observing, from what we're hearing from our listeners, is that once you can recognize what your go-tos are to help you come back from derailment, you can feel a little bit more in control. So at least psychosomatically, it helps you get through those times. And another topic that surfaced from that too is who do you have to go to during these times? So with that in mind, I'm going to take a look at the Yi Jing that we pulled just before. And again, the Yi Jing is reading from the Book of Changes, which is the ancient text at the foundation of Feng Shui. And it is looking at environmental science as a way to learn about our patterns in human nature. And we asked, what do we need to bring to this podcast discussion in terms of finding ways to come back, and how do we face these adversities? And it resulted in hexagram 51, which talks about the energy of shock, which was not shocking to us at all. It's the energy of thunder above and thunder below. So we talked about that when you hear thunder and it's that lightning strike nearby you, it's exhilarating in a way. It causes a response, that flight or fight response. The hair stands up on ends. And it can be scary. So you might be looking for shelter, but you might also want to see what the natural event is, because it could be so cool. So shock can be derailing to us if it's positive or negative. And looking at the Yi Jing, what it says is the lasting impact of a major shock can be stimulating or debilitating, depending on your perspective. The critical factor is a willingness to be open to fear rather than running away from it, enabling you to transform anxiety into laser sharp perception. And that's really empowering, because that's a big energy, thunder.
Yeah, especially since these derailments, or as I keep thinking about them, because, I like my tarot, I'm thinking of it as like that tower moment, that like big unexpected change or disruption was the word you were using earlier, that seems to kind of upend everything all at once.
Yeah, it's like it's that catalyst in a way. And it may or may not be something that we're wanting necessarily, but it may just be necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I think too, we'll get into it a little bit more, but there is no right or wrong way to handle it, so to speak. It's just like you were saying earlier, Lisa, to find your specific, what's personal to you, to just bring you that peace to, get through the moment, after something major has happened. And it could be, like you said, it could be a good thing, a good disruptor, or it could be bad, but finding whatever personally works for you, to just bring peace to you in that moment.
Yeah. And I think Lisa hit on a good thing there when she talked about regaining a sense of control, because these huge disruptions obviously can make us feel very powerless, because usually we can't control any of the factors that are going on, right? We can really only control our response to it. So having a toolbox with maybe some different things, kind of depending on what's going on, would be really good to come back to that sense of at least control or personal power over your own perspectives and your own expression and management of your emotions about the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, well, if you think about it, whether it's a good disruption or a bad disruption, and you are so motivated and there's so much momentum driving you towards a goal, whether that be a work goal or whether that be a financial goal, whatever that goal may be, maybe it's travel. But when you do get derailed and you're out of that phase of momentum, what does that do to you? What does that do to all of the plates that you have spinning?
Mm-hmm.
It's things get lost. You might lose focus to a point that you lose interest in all of the things.
Yeah, you also kind of get put into, I know I've experienced this on purpose though recently. When you start taking those things away and you're just sitting in it, it's almost like you're in this void, or this like, you're not where you were, you're not where you want to be, and then you're just kind of like in this, I don't know this space, that's you don't know what to do. So it is very uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
But doing some things, to make that easier is what's important.
Yeah.
As you're working through it.
And I think big time too, because whether we want to label them good, bad, or something in between, these events are almost always very uncomfortable, right? Like change is just generally uncomfortable. Disruption is uncomfortable. So, accepting the discomfort and not being afraid of the discomfort and searching for like the lesson in the event, I think is a good way to look at it too, because I'll notice a lot of times that these experiences even happen when I'm in the middle of manifesting something, because a lot of times, since we're letting go of the exact how of our manifestations, right, a lot of times there's stuff in place in your life that has to be dismantled in order for these manifestations to happen. So, maybe if we're not so quick to put a good or a bad label on these disruptions, and we just kind of, some things obviously are clearly like not desirable, but if we can once we've experienced and allowed and processed emotions, acute emotions associated with it, if we can just start immediately looking for that lesson, I think that helps to sort of transition back.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, like you said, obviously some setbacks are not desirable. There's some tragic things that happen. There's, all kinds of stuff. But I do think sometimes setbacks can be such a positive thing because it puts you back into the present moment. Because sometimes you get so stuck on what you're doing and seeking and searching and fighting for and your goal. And that's great to have the momentum and everything, but it can be where you lose sight of like what's going on right now, and that present, because that's all you have is right now. So sometimes it can, like you said, it can be a lesson for the good.
Yeah, you guys are lining up exactly with the energy that the I Ching is talking about. And I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit. So at first, a time can indicate that following a sudden change that may have seemed unfortunate at first could indicate good fortune around the corner. If we remain open to all possibilities in a time of crisis, the results can be shockingly positive. So like Emily, you were saying, the dismantling of that. And I think, Emily, too, what I was thinking about is when you're so focused towards a dream, you might just be going through the motions at some point or going through things in a mundane way because you put everything into a box of how you expect to deliver it. And that's what you were saying too, Emily. It's, I heard you say, along the lines of detach and allow and process. And it's that experience that we've never experienced before, and we're trying to make sense of it. So the I Ching talks about really empowerment through shock, which I think is a great idea. Rather than, and there's that saying, life happens for me, not to me. And so whether that triggers anyone or not, because it's sometimes in the moment you're like, no. But when we can get to that place of looking within and why is this happening for me, I think that's important too. And it also talks about, which I found interesting too. So when startling events are at their peak, clarity of vision and perspective can be lost. So when you're at that peak, like of a shock and triggered, or just really, really takes you down, your perspective, it's not going to be possible that time. So what can everybody do to find their calm and their center, to get out of that state of shock?
Someone put it to me, I think it was Shahar, who we had on our show a few episodes ago. I think it was him that told me this, and I liked it. I liked the wording of it, because the shock contains a lot of emotion, right? And I think a lot of that sort of like paralysis part of the shock phase is just like having so many emotions that you don't know what to make of it, and you don't know where to move. You know what I mean? You don't know where to start. So what he said was to think about just being an observer. So like visualize your emotions kind of being, a flowing river, if you want to see it that way, and rising above them and observing them. And so, you're not trying to say, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to feel this, but you're becoming an observer above them so that you can name them. You can let them flow through you, and then you can sort of release them or breathe them out. And so I kind of think of that as like a process, a way to process these emotions. And as you start to process them, they can begin to become less and less paralyzing, so that you can then, clear your mind somewhat to really decide your next moves.
Oh my gosh, this so I see you have something to say, Michelle, but I just want to validate what you're saying. Emily is right on point with this. It says, so a nimble mind evades on, rushing fate like a matador twirls away from a charging bull. So in this instance, the Yi Jing is talking about the energy of the disruption being like a charging bull. And a matador is really assessing the situation. Do I go left? Do I go right? Do I need to try to jump over this bull? But even a nimble mind can be mired or muddled, or in any of these jarring circumstances, just lost in what to do. Sometimes when you are stuck, you become a target for the horns of fate. If you had a clear problem, you could do something about it. So naming it and knowing what exactly it is, you can have a reaction. But for now, don't force anything. Just try to keep your wits about you until the dust settles. So that lines up very much with what you were saying. And I'm sorry, Michelle, I know you were getting ready to jump in there on that thought.
Oh yeah, no, I was just going to say that our natural reaction to setbacks or any kind of pain in general is to, at least for me, is to like, I want it to go away, get rid of it, resist, right? And then I've learned over the last couple of months that instead to sit with it, similar to what Emily was saying, and notice it, but don't
drown in
don't dwell in it. Yeah. And eventually you notice it's there, and then you kind of learn how to be friends with it. That sounds really strange, but to a point where eventually those thoughts and those feelings don't have any weight anymore. They're just they're just a thought and a feeling, they don't,
they're not a part of you.
Yeah. They don't cause that pain or, any of that anymore. So, I learned that recently, through ACT therapy. It's like accepting, and commitment, to your thoughts and to situations. And it's the same kind of concept that you described, Emily.
Yeah.
So,
because that whole idea, I mean, I'm certainly prone to it too. I think a lot of us are, but that whole idea of sort of like making the emotions just go away isn't real. We don't have that power. We just, if we think we're doing that, really all we're doing is compartmentalizing, shutting down, and, pushing the energy of those emotions to affect us detrimentally in some other unknown way,
Yeah. And just by pure science, I'm sure many people have heard how you can create new neural pathways in your brain, yada, yada. But what a lot of people leave out is it doesn't delete the feeling or the thought or the whatever you were going through. You can create new perceptions, new thoughts, new feelings on top of it. And you can create new neural pathways, but the old one's still always going to be there. It never goes away. You never delete them. Like, that's not true. And so you have to learn to desensitize yourself from them in a way, because at the end of the day, it is just thoughts and feelings, but setbacks and derailments and life situations are true and hurtful, can be hurtful. So,
and if we pretend like they don't hurt us, right? Like, then we're not doing ourselves any favors either. Right. Because we can't make thoughts and feelings go away, but we can feel and then process and release the acute energy of an emotion that is what keeps us sort of paralyzed,
stuck,
yeah. Or just disassociated.
Or in like a really poor example, I've heard people overuse the saying, hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
So if you're not processing it, then it might be directed, that frustration, like at someone else or even an object, if you trip on an object. But it will come out in a different way. And it's not to say that, and the Yi Jing does talk about this too, is sometimes we need to take a retreat from everybody and engaging with everyone, and go within, because we're not ready to be interacting with others. So taking that time, if it needs to be a day off, and refocus and then get back in there.
So that's interesting you say that, because that was actually going to be one of my personal tips of what I do is I kind of and even more recently, I just kind of get quiet and retreat for a while. And, not that I'm cutting people out, but I'm just taking that time to process things myself. And that's been a lot more helpful, because in my past, I would just go, 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 run, 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 busy, busy, busy.
Try to distract.
Yeah. And then the cycle would just those thoughts again would just keep coming up. And 20 years later, it's like, I thought I dealt with that. It's like, no, you didn't do anything with that emotion. You were just distracting. But with that being said, how, let's talk about how we kind of, each kind of deal with those type of things. So, Emily, what are some of your techniques or personal things that help you with certain situations of derailment or setback?
Yeah, well, definitely, like in the immediate moment, I will usually take a day to just be a lump, as I say it, or, kind of be paralyzed, or do what I need to do to allow those acute feelings to flow through me. If it needs a cry, if it needs a scream, or a lot of fucks or whatever, that's I'm starting with that. During that time, a technique that I've been so resistant to, but it works, damn it. And this is something that Vera, a business coach who's a friend of ours who will be on the show, taught me. And that is to say, and this is to feel and process the emotions, and specifically to avoiding them. Is you feel it, you name it, and you tell it yes. Like you say, for example, betrayed or betrayal. Like, yes to betrayal. And you kind of say that, and you just let it come to you and let it move through your body, and then you can release it. It's no longer yours. So I start with that, and I do, I'll usually in that first day, maybe do some deep spiritual work. I have several kind of things that I go to there. I've practiced shamanic journeying a lot. That's a big one. Or, any kind of just deep meditation, breath work, that kind of thing in that acute moment. I think it's really important to get grounded very soon. So, going to the beach is a big one for me, and just putting my feet in the sand and just letting the water kind of rush over my legs. But, just going outside and putting your bare feet on the ground is helpful too. Touch nature, get grounded, get some sunlight, so that you're not, once your lump phase is over, you don't just turn into a lump. And then, once the energy starts moving through me kind of differently, you got to get moving, because it will stagnate in your body. So it can start with breathing. It can, start with some more gentle movements, kind of the fascia based stuff, or yoga, that kind of thing. And of course, me being me, I've always found great comfort and therapy in lifting really, really heavy weights. I've set some of my craziest PRs in, times of severe distress and disruption. So I definitely appreciate that type of movement specifically as a channel. And, you just gotta find a balance between, because I do have sort of escapist tendencies, right?
Mm-hmm. Is that bad though? Is it bad to be an escapist?
Well, I think there's an amount that is okay.
Healthy. Yeah.
And maybe even necessary in certain situations, you know what I mean? But you really got to find your balance between, say, for example, eating that pizza or whatever it is that you just have joy eating, comfort food, you got to find that balance between allowing for that for yourself and actually nourishing your body as well. Because if you're just eating like shit this entire time, then as within, so without, you're going to start to feel even more like shit. So have your pizza, have, whatever it is that kind of gives you that little serotonin rush at that time, but also make sure that overall you're nourishing yourself. And same goes for, if you partake in alcohol or whatever, if you can moderate yourself to a reasonable amount, don't go out and get yourself arrested or anything like that. And certainly don't start drinking all day every day, because in the same way that's gonna just detract from your energy, and that's gonna send you further down the spiral. So do the little things that could be considered vices that just make you feel good in that moment, but also temper yourself and nourish yourself with nature, nutrition, and movement. And also find your people. Find your people, and your people who bring you joy, I should say, and spend time with them. Find things that make you laugh. Laughter is great. It's a great way to just break up energy. And that doesn't mean you won't start crying 2 seconds later. And that's okay too. You're still moving that energy through your body. So all those things I think are go-tos for me, and hopefully might help somebody else.
Yeah, that really resonates with what we've been seeing happening within the Facebook group chatter too, around the idea. There's been a lot of discussions too about go-to choices of music that brings people back, whether it's the beat or the lyrics, because it doesn't, one might resonate more with the other, but turning on that song that's, maybe that's almost like a tribal thing, music in a way too can lift your energy and bring you back to focus. And then
sound therapy.
Talk, any kind of movement in that perspective. Yeah. For me, and I know probably for Michelle too, for me, when I'm processing something, I'll go through and then I'll notice, because of all the feng shui, I'll notice there's a lot of things for me to clear out the clutter of things. When there's a trauma like that, it's easier to let go of things. And that's a very great way to release emotions in some way too. So whether that be a photo album or even if you're holding on to receipts or drawings or whatever it may be, get rid of things that are no longer serving a purpose, or that have, they're damaged. And why are you holding on to them? So it's real easy at that time, just like get a bag out and just get rid of a bunch of stuff. Even just changing the vibe of the home, get yourself some new curtains, wash down the windows, and that we've brought up those before too. But just changing a few things, maybe even swapping the artwork. You don't have to go out and buy all your artwork to be new, but move it around a little, to pay attention to where you're putting it. Take a look and see what you are looking at most in your day. And that will start to have some sort of reflection back on you and change your patterns in a way that things will seem and feel fresher. And it might support you better into getting back into your getting back into gear. And I think just like in a self-care way, I'm a big fan of like taking a long shower and processing things. And that kind of like the idea of like washing things away. Same with, visiting the beach or whatnot, or getting out in the sunlight, but really just allowing things to just flow and think. I mean, for me, that's a real good time for me to be like thinking of ideas or solutions. But yeah, I think what we're seeing too is, especially from what people are saying in the Facebook group, is this happens often, like things we can't be complacent and thinking that, oh, things are good right now. Something is going to happen, but having these resources and just these ideas, and even perhaps talking about them, gives you, acceptance that it's going to happen, and you're going to gain back that focus, and you've got your toolbox to go to. Michelle, how about you?
Yeah. So like I was saying earlier, definitely, especially lately, retreat, getting quiet. So my pattern was always whatever went wrong. I've always been like the fixer. So it would be 1,001 podcasts or YouTube videos or whatever on the subject matter. I would obsessively seek. I'm a seeker. So like constantly seeking information. And so, given my past experiences, as a kid and different things, I want to keep things even keel and like fix it as quick as possible to make it go away, so nothing worse happens, right? So it's like a safety thing too. So I've done that for years. And then it wasn't until within this last 6 months that by working, so I see this really great therapist, which I'm not ashamed to say, I think everybody should see a therapist at least once. But I've been through a couple, and the one that I'm with now, he's amazing. And he has a totally different way of teaching and looking at things. And so basically what he's done with me is take away all that stuff. And so then you're just left with yourself. And that's why I was saying, like, you can feel like you're in a void and whatnot. And so I've learned to sit with it, to get quiet, to retreat, rather than, oh my gosh, I gotta find, fix. That's just doing more resisting of what's going on, really. And so it makes you sit and I don't want to say face it, but like I was saying, almost becoming like friends with it in a way. How can you continue to manage your life with these feelings going on? So that, and then another thing recently that has been super helpful for me is, like Emily alluded to earlier, is movement. I hate going to a regular gym, and I just, don't love it. And I don't like cardio machines, but lately I've been just like, when I start feeling things creep up, or if something has happened, I'll just force myself to go in and jump on the elliptical for 30 minutes, or the, treadmill, or go for a walk outside, or whatever, it happens to be that day. And then when I'm done, I just feel like a whole new person, and I feel so much better. So I agree with Emily. Movement is so important. And the previous me for years and years instead would go to the couch and veg out and eat a whole pint of ice cream. And again, like Emily said, I do think you should have those moments, but there's got to be more balance. And so finding these more healthier ways of doing things have been super, super, super helpful with helping with stuff like that. And then also, like Emily was saying too, having the support, the people to lean on, that, you can cry to if you need to, or talk with and whatnot. That's really, really helpful too. But I think the biggest, most profound thing for me recently has been the amount of movement. It really makes a difference, just moving your body. I mean, even if you just get up and do a bunch of jumping jacks, it sounds stupid, but it's just like getting your heart rate up and just like moving everything out. And you just feel, it releases endorphins, and you just feel energized and kind of rejuvenated after, almost like taking a hot shower, in my opinion. So,
that reminded me too of another specific sort of tactic, and that is cold immersion, whether it's a cold shower or ice bath or chiller, whatever you kind of have access to. It almost is like a reset back to survival mode, because when you're experiencing this cold, this extreme cold, then sort of all those emotions, the anxiety and things like that, they don't exist on that survival.
It's like an intentional
level
shock therapy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you've never practiced it before, like, don't just like go balls to the wall and jump in a tub of ice, like get into it smart. but I think the cold therapy is a really good reset in when you're having a hard time pulling yourself out of that hole.
Yeah. And then another thing too, I think, is getting back to, like I was saying earlier, as much as you can, even if it's just little blips throughout the day of the present moment. And if it's just noticing something in your space and being like, oh, it kind of disrupts that second. And it kind of brings you back like, oh, that's right. Like, it's just right now. And I'm just doing this one activity right now. And I'm just going to focus on this for this moment. And it cuts all that chatter out. Another kind of exercise that I've done recently that's been very profound for me is coming back to my core values. So this is something we can go into in another episode, but there's this really cool exercise of how to even find what your core values are, because a lot of times people think they know, but they really don't. And then every day looking at those and finding ways to live those core values. And again, I think that your purpose in this world is to live your values, really is what it is. And so, if you can find little ways to do that, then it becomes kind of like, I don't want to say it's a distraction, but it's a disruptor to something more positive and bring you, more meaningful moments, even if they're just seconds in time, during your day. And I know that's been super helpful for me. Like, one of mine is to be brave. So, after I've gone into the gym of having a disruption or something, I can come out and say, you know what, I was just brave. That might sound crazy to some people and silly, but for me, that was me being brave, getting up, getting my gym clothes on, leaving my house and going, instead of going and sulking on the couch or turning on Netflix or whatever. I did something brave. So it just brings a whole new perspective and can really help just shift. I think it's just all about those little shifts, because it can take a while to get through something depending on how deep the disruption or setback was. It could be months, but that's actually some really valuable time to learn something. So
yeah, that's sort of like infusing the attitude of gratitude also, right? Like, all right, finding your victories, like what little victories have I achieved in this?
Yeah. It's so the I Ching even talks about willpower and self-control are necessary to manage growth properly, but an inner enthusiasm for life is what drives it. So maintaining that inner enthusiasm for life, maybe you do tap in more to what your core values are. Maybe you do reach out to your friends and ask them, what are things that you come to me for? And maybe that's a way, you can remember that this problem or this disruption is not who you are.
Right. It's not your identity.
Right. Yeah. So obviously, and Michelle, I kind of feel like maybe we could do your practice. Would it be something that we could do within our Facebook group? If listeners are interested, we could hop on and do a live and at least share that experience
of the values.
Yes.
Yeah. It's more of like it's a pretty intense type of like, meditation-y kind of thing. But we can definitely figure out a way to jump in and talk about it, or maybe run through it.
I feel like that might
personal.
be it's personal.
So you have to be careful. I mean, I literally bawled my eyes out through the whole thing.
So if that sounds fun to anyone.
Yeah. No, but it was so worth it. It was so incredibly worth it, because it literally that little thing like shifted so much in my life in the last couple of weeks. So we can definitely jump on and have a discussion about it though.
Yeah, let's do that. I think that would be a really good idea. Anything else, ladies, that we can bring to this topic? I think it's important. I feel like, especially, we're coming to the end of the season and we're shifting into fall, and people were starting to feel like those like summer doldrums kind of. And it did feel like a lot of people within our sphere were getting a little rocked by something in their lives, like a little bit off, a little bit derailed. And there is a great benefit in having, again, we mentioned a few times, in having your go-to people. We have each other in our collective and within the conscious collaboration. And you can just perhaps even hearing us talk, know that and see within your own friend groups and circles when there might be instances that that people may be going through some adversities. And it's just a really great reminder to go through life with that lens, that something might not be going the way that you want it to work out, but keeping that lens that you don't know what's going on in someone else's life, and just being kind and from that perspective, and perhaps be a little more open within your circles to support one another and share some of ways that your friends and your coworkers and your collaborators, your family can help you through and help you get back on where you need to be, whether that be give you more space or support in feng shui or strength training or whatever that may be, but support in those areas. You can rally your strength back up. And the I Ching talks about after the shock is a pushing upward. So thinking about those sprouts, those seedlings that you planted and pushing through the earth, or sometimes sprouts can split through rocks even, but it can be done, and it can be done with focus and intention, but also from that inner light, what lights you up, being guided towards that goal and that light. So yeah, I know this was a deep discussion for us. Emily, do you think I left something out there?
No, I was just going to add that I think along those lines, every tower moment, every disruption like this, and for me, like every, heartbreak, let's say I've ever had, I know that I have the opportunity to become somebody way better on the other side of it.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
Me going.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
You know what I mean? Like, I can't wait for the moment that this doesn't suck anymore, and that I'm just going to feel so jazzed that I made it to the other side, and now I'm even stronger and even more powerful and even better and can find even more joy in my life.
Yeah, I was totally just about to say that 9 times out of 10, once you make it through the other side, you change and you're evolve into an even higher level, a better person. I don't love the phrase level up anymore, but but you do, you evolve into a new version of you, and it's usually better. It's just hard to see while you're going through the fire.
Keep the faith.
Yeah. Gotta have faith.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta sing for us. All right. Now we have copyright issues to worry about.
Oh yeah, that's right. Just kidding.
I don't know that you sang.
I don't know who did that song.
More singing inside of our Facebook group, the Conscious Collaboration Collective. You can find us on Facebook, and we look to you, our listeners, and our group within there to help come up with ways that we can come up with topics that will support you where you are, meet you where you are in your life, and see you for who you are. I'm already seeing some connections being made within the group too. So I think that we are actually creating little mini conscious collaborations within the group.
Word up.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for both of you for your insight, your input today. It was, like you said, it was a deep conversation, but I think it was a really good one. And until next time, we'll talk to you in 5 minutes.
See you in 5.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank y'all so much for listening to our podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends so they can join our circle of collaboration on this journey. You can find us on Instagram at Conscious Collaboration Podcast, on Spotify, iTunes, and Audible, to name a few. Please join us next time for another deep dive into how you can live life in more alignment, mind, body, and business. Send us your questions and comments in our DMs or email us at consciouscollaborationpodcast@gmail.com. See you in 5 minutes.